Hello everyone, it's Tanner Games here. Welcome back to the channel. We're back in Infinity Nikki and today we're going to do a Reddit review. So we're going to head over to the unofficial Reddit for Infinity Nikki and just see how the community's feeling. Now, I do anticipate a lot of posts perhaps about the girl caught and the disappointment in the update. So whilst I do want to cover those, if there's a lot of the very same post, I might kind of skip over a couple just because of not needing to repeat myself again and again what I say for one post and then another. So but we'll see how it goes. We'll take a look at the Reddit. I've not done one of these for a while. Much like many of the community, I have lost a little bit of love for Nikki, which is a shame because I think there was a lot of promise in this game and I still want there to be promise. I still want there to be hope for the game to improve and for things to get better. That is kind of what I'm clinging on to. I really am trying to do so. I think like many others in this community, we've invested a lot of money into this game. I mean, even those that haven't invested money, you know, we've put in the time and stuff like that, and this had a lot of promise for gaming, for the future of gaming, for how gamers create games for female audiences and even non-female audiences, because obviously there are male people who play this game as well, but I just thought there was so much promise with Nikki, and the story gripped a lot of us and drew us in and captured our hearts and made us fall in love with her. So I really hope that, you know, all that time, all that love isn't kind of wasted. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed and, you know, praying basically for the rise of Nikki. For a rebirth type situation, you know, we can have like a phoenix situation. She comes out of the ashes of this update and can shine brightly, but we're gonna have to, I think we just have to, it's all a waiting game, isn't it? But how long can we all wait for, really? I know this has been a bit of a waffly introduction, but let's head over to Reddit and just see how the community's feeling and just see perhaps you've found some fun things with the recent update, if you've had a chance to play it. Okay, so as I said, we're on the unofficial subreddit, and our first post is obviously in relation to the girl caught and things like that. So it says, just to be clear, this apology isn't for us. No shame if you're still playing. A lot of us genuinely love this game. But let's be honest, this apology isn't real accountability. It's polished PR meant to calm backlash and stall us. They offered 960 diamonds, time-gated crumbs, not even a temple, dodged the real issues, pity changes, predatory dying, and redirected feedback to private channels. It's all about optics, not actual change. But don't be discouraged, this tells us that pressure works. They only responded after the community pushed back, but pressure needs to continue. If we stop now, they'll think we've moved on. You can still play and push for change, just don't let corporate PR silence us. If we want a game that respects us long term, we have to keep going. Don't settle, we deserve better. So I somewhat agree. Like, there's a lot that I agree with in this, you know. I do think the 960 diamonds, the dodging the real issues and stuff like that, and redirecting feedback to private channels, I do see that. I do, however, think that they've realized they've messed up, and I think that they know they need to change things. It's how much they do change. It's how much they do implement what we are concerned about, kind of thing. They were very vague in what they said, you know. They talked about other changes that they can't talk about. So I do think that they have heard us, and I do think there are a lot of the devs that want to give us the game that we had before, but I do somewhat agree with some of this and stuff like that about the, you know, the lack of compensation, and it doesn't feel like proper accountability. They needed to really not gloss over things and stuff like that. However, I think a bit like how they say, you know, this tells us the pressure works. I think their response is because of their backlash, and they are aware of it. And I do think there are going to be changes to come. We just don't know the extent and to what and things like that, because they have been so vague. They really have been vague. So I do expect changes. I will be intrigued to see what happens for 1.6. That's what I'm waiting on, is the next update. And I think that's going to be the big tell. I think that's going to be the big tell. We're seeing how 1.6 comes down. I do agree the 960 diamonds is very minimal. Bearing in mind what they offered us prior to half of these issues coming to light, within the first day they offered us 10 of each type of crystal and 1200 diamonds. 960 diamonds is not comparable, and the issues have only got worse from their first initial compensation. So it's not scalable. It's not scalable kind of thing, if that makes sense. It's kind of minimizing what's happened recently, but again, I might be delusional in thinking that there's still hope, but I want to believe there's hope. I love this game, and I really want the best for it, to be honest. I want the best for it. That's all I want. Okay, next up we have this really interesting post from Corpse Hydrangea. You can create the illusion of tattoos by dyeing some gloves black or a darker colour. Idea for people like me desperate for body markings. The first two gloves are from the new mermaid banner. The third one is from the standard swan dress. Okay. Oh, that's actually pretty cool. That's actually really, really cool. Such a fun way of this. I do think these work somewhat better because you don't see the kind of the arm strip here. But I love this. Such a cool effect. Oh, that's such a fun way of integrating like tattoos into the game. I wonder what other gloves this would work with. I mean, I guess my only downside is the fact that obviously this particular dye, the black dye, is always the most expensive, and it does mean you need every evolution of a certain type of outfit, and that is something I am quite disappointed about, that there isn't really a darker tone in the other ones. But I don't know, yeah, it's something I'm a bit gutted about. I think because I like quite gothic colors, it's a bit gutting to not be able to get some kind of black color for dyeing and stuff like that. I am actually like proper gutted about they must know that black's the most popular color and stuff like that, and it is a bit of a shame, to be honest. I wish there was a way to somehow unlock these, like I just think like past banners that perhaps you might not have pulled onto the max, and you go, oh well, I didn't know about dyeing was coming and things like that, and you go, this is now forever locked out because I can never gain those evolutions unless they do a rerun. So I do kind of wish there was maybe like a workaround system so that you could somehow invest into unlocking this. I mean, not that I want to talk about more ways to spend money, but like you could invest with like resources and stuff. Like when I say invest, I don't just mean monetary wise. I do mean like, gathering resources or spending X amount of bling in the game or whatever. Like I just wish there was some way to unlock these palettes without having everything, or like just something. It would be nice. I don't know. As I said, it's just because of like there's so many banners that we've perhaps pulled on in the past, and you might not have pulled to the maximum as an uninformed player, unaware of how dyeing was going to come in or how it would work. I mean, none of us knew exactly how it would work. And it's just a shame to know that those people might not have access to this through, to some extent, no fault of their own, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. It's very cool though. The whole tattoo thing is very, very cool. And next up we have a post from Garden of of Fallen Stars. Oh my gosh, I'm so dumb, I can't read. Garden of Fallen Stars made this clown Nikki that I thought looked cool, but I thought this was super cool, but it didn't get any likes in the color book, so I'll just share it here for more Nikki friends to see. Oh my gosh. Oh wow, okay, I am very, very impressed. I like this because it's such a good way of showing how you can use this top piece. In fact, some of this kind of clown jester look with other items to create kind of like it's the same vibe. It's a similar, it's still a jester look, but just like a different take, a different like version of it. Which I think is really cool to see, because I do find that from the jester look, the only thing I tend to actually use is the hair, which the hair is really cute, but it's nice to see the creativity that can be done with dyeing and things like that. I do think that's really fun, and this is an incredible job. This is so impressive. It's very cool. It looks incredible. Absolutely amazing. Love this. Brilliant job, brilliant job. Okay, next we have this post, which is about compensation on missed monthly gifts. So put, well, you heard it here. If you missed out on logging in for the monthly pass, it's on you, the player's end, not the service that didn't work. My only method of playing was via PS5, and I bought my pass via PSN. We had 0 announcements the day of it happening and 0 warnings to log in via other devices. Didn't help that PS5 players had 0 indication on getting it to work through official announcement, except via player posts on places like Reddit and Twitter replies. It's especially hilariously egregious that I got this email on the same day of their so-called apology. So this says, sorry for the late reply. The ability to log in resulting in rewards not being claimed is not compensable. Please log in on another device as soon as possible. The next time you experience this situation, thank you for your patience. I do agree. If the game has so many bugs that make it impossible to log on and to actually claim those rewards, that is not on your fault. That is 100%. I agree on the actual game itself, on the company, because it's not like I mean, I guess this is where maybe it's a grey area, I don't know, because like obviously if you've got a device that technically is below the standards for running Nikki, that's, I don't want to say that's on you because that sounds very blamey, but like obviously you might expect to run into troubles, but obviously this is a PS5 device. It's not like a very low-end computer. It's not like a low-end phone or something like that. This is a PS5, an official kind of like console that you can play Nikki through, so it should run the game. There shouldn't be issues of the game running on something like PS5 because it was kind of built for it, so to speak. Like, I understand, like, if I was playing on a phone from like 10 years ago, that the game might barely run. I would understand that, but playing on a PS5 and not being able to access the game is really kind of not on the player. I don't know if there's ways to prove that kind of like the internet speeds or the download speed or whatever, the connectivity isn't on a player end and stuff. I don't know, but it is a bit of a shame. Again, this is why the compensation is important, because the compensation is meant to make up for issues like this as well. Like the compensation, I know not everyone missed out on monthly gifts, but that's why the compensation needs to be generous, because it's meant to say, hey, we've had lots of bugs. Some of the issues have been people missing out on monthly gifts. Some of the issues have been this. Some of the issues have been people not being able to log in daily to get their dailies done and things like that. And that is what compensation is for, kind of thing. It covers these. So in some ways I feel bad, because there's probably staff in the customer services that, you know, don't have any control on this. The whole compensation will be approved from higher ups. It will be the higher ups that are causing this. And you know, this customer service staff, as someone who's worked in customer service, you know, we often don't get a choice in what we're allowed to say. You know, a lot of the times we're told, hey, if you give this response, you're disciplined, you know, kind of thing. So you're not allowed to do this. And kind of you're told, don't bother asking because you're not going to get it. So a lot of the customer service staff just have to give the apologies that they're meant to give. But that is why things, like I said, compensation is meant to come into play, because then people who did miss their monthly gifts, it's not so bad because they've got their compensation, which makes up for it, kind of thing. So it isn't good. It isn't good. It's not a great position to kind of be in and stuff like that. And I would assume, based on the timing, perhaps, I mean, it could just be consequential, but it could also be that the customer service staff have been told, look, don't give responses on this, don't give responses on that till we've come up with our solution. And then when they did their apology with the compensation of 960, they're like, well, that should make up for it. So now you can respond to all these players. But I mean, obviously I don't know exactly. I am just talking on my perspective from what it's been like working in customer service departments before and stuff like that, and dealing with customer service and some of the systems that have been in place in other companies. So this is 100% not stating exactly how it works for Infold. I cannot comment on that, but just sort of saying that it might be because of that. It might be because of that. And next up we have a post from Lazy Miso here, who's put my Venti floating outfit. Now, I'm not sure who Venti is. I don't recall. Maybe it's from another gacha. I don't know. But this is fun. It is quite cute. It's a very cute look. I do wish in some ways that I'd pulled for the banner with this, you know, with the mask and the cloak and stuff. It's one of the banners that I kind of almost regret not having, and I hope we either get an alternative banner that is similar, or if they rerun it, I will definitely pull on it. Well, it was a 4-star, so, and it was a 4-star that came with a 5-star, so I don't know how they'd do it. Maybe they'd have to run the 5-star banner again, I'm not sure. But yeah, certainly I would want to get this outfit. I do just hope that we get an alternative, perhaps just some form of cloak, some form of mask is what I want. But I think this is beautiful in terms of a design. I like the colors, they're quite nice. Like I said, I don't fully know the character it's representing, that's on me, but it does look like a great design, so a wonderful job. And next up we have this post here. Now I have gone through this, it's quite interesting. So basically it's about some of the practices of Infold. So a lot of people are aware of the issue with the store with the bathtub, where it was giving a high price point, $50 marked down to $9.99, which I did question this originally, because I know what it was like in one of my previous jobs where we used to do half price sales. And obviously when you do a half price sale and advertise a half price sale, there has to be a point where that item is at full price, at least in the UK. And so what the company I was at used to do was they would remove that product from shop floors. It would still be available to buy from a shop floor. Like, you could still buy it if you went into a shop, but you wouldn't be able to, it wasn't on display, kind of thing. And when it was removed from the shop floors, they would then up the price of it. So online you would buy it at this higher price. So say the product was selling for £500 at half price, it would be on the website at 1,000 for a certain time period. I can't remember how long it had to be, but it did have to be advertised at that high price for a certain time online so that people could access it. And then obviously people could come into the shop and also buy that item and pay that full price, that full higher price. And that's how they got around it. That's how they got around the legalities of it, 'cause technically they were still selling the product at full price. It was just something that, you know, was one of their products that they just didn't show on their shop floors. They just didn't have the room for it and stuff like that. And that got around the kind of legalities of it because it was available to buy at the full price point. So it did mean that the half price point was technically legal because it was a price point that it was sold at. So I don't know all the legalities here. There's a lot of talk about US things and stuff like that. It goes on about sort of articles and stuff about drops, you know, these hidden drop rates of items such as the 5-star sets, the 4-star sets, and how the hairstyles and dress have a lower percentage compared to like the shoes and the socks and the accessories. So yeah, we do have this. It's worth reading because this is something, I mean, there is a TLDR here, but even this TLDR is kind of long. But it does say about this, and it has links about, you know, the things, basically the articles and stuff like that. There are some comments about you know, if you're in other countries and stuff like that. But it is interesting to see how obviously we have had one update, and I do think it's interesting, this comment, hell hath no fury like women scorned. And I do agree. I think there was a lot of things here we were willing to tolerate as players. Like, I kind of knew when I saw the bathtub at $9.99 in the sale, I knew it wasn't a real sale in my head. I was like, what is the point of showing it at this high price point and stuff like that? And I kind of, you know, just kind of like almost laughed at it because obviously the industries that I've worked in before, I kind of understood this practice of, you know, sales and how they're designed to pull people in and make themselves feeling like they're getting like a bargain and stuff like that. Like, kind of the practices of that I'm kind of aware of. I mean, I haven't bought the $9.99 bathtub. I do think it is a bit too expensive in my opinion, but like, if it was a bit cheaper, I think I would have bought it because I think it's a fun item or like an interesting item to have. But yeah, I definitely did kind of skip over it because I felt like $9.99 was a bit too expensive. But that sale price wouldn't be what would draw me to it because I just read through it, kind of thing. I'm well aware of that tactic and things like that. So yeah, it's just interesting to see how people will, you know, we've had a few issues. We've had issues this update, and people will look into it. They won't tolerate it. And, you know, is this Infold's own doing? I mean, I guess that's all you can say is it is. There's a lot that, you know, I guess a lot of us would have tolerated before, like with that markdown of the bathtub. If everything else was all right, I think a lot of us would kind of scoff at it as, well, it's a fake sale, but whatever. But with obviously all the issues recently and stuff like that, I think this is definitely, there's definitely a reaction in the community, and I hope Infold are paying attention. I hope they're listening, and I hope they are, you know, I hope 1.6 brings with it some real, I hope we hear more about change and stuff like that and what's going to come. I am very intrigued to see if for 1.6 we do get some kind of major post, like how they did their recent apology. If they start putting out more things like that closer to the update, saying, okay, we know this was an issue, so this is the change that you can expect to see implemented. I know they said some stuff was going to be much more longer term, but I am intrigued to see if there are any more statements, or if this is it from Infold and they're just going to release the next update like nothing's going on. That I am very curious about. I'm curious to see whether they've made their statement and that's it, or if they haven't. We'll just have to see. And next up, we've got this post from Flykson. Sorry about that, but they've put cosplay characters from my favorite anime. How'd I do? Sorry I didn't get the clown makeup, and so now I don't think I can do Hisoka justice. Maybe someone can give it a try. And we have this one here, and this looks very close. This is very close. I mean, apart from the hair, this is pretty good. This is a very good interpretation, to be honest. Okay, that's fun. That's kind of fun. Again, it's that anime hair. Sometimes you just like unless you have something specific, it's hard to replicate that kind of look, isn't it? But this is fun. And then we have this one. Oh, that's so clever. That's such a clever way of doing this. I do think it's very clever when you see people do cosplays like this and things like that. And then we've got another one here. I don't know what this anime is, by the way. Just a disclaimer, I don't know the anime. But I can see the vision and I can see the interpretations, and I think they're quite good. I do think they're quite clever. You know, I don't know who this is and stuff like that, but this look so Howl coded in a sense. Like, change it to the Howl colors and yeah. That would 100% be it. But yeah, I think this is cool. I think this is fun, very creative. Like I said, I don't know the anime it is, but I can definitely see the inspo and how you've replicated it. I think it's amazing. And next up we have this post from Adorable Company, and this is a koi kind of look. How creative. Oh, that's very fun. I love this mix of colors. I think it's so fantastic. It is one of the things that I do feel like I see stuff like this and I just feel like it's impossible unless you have like pulled completely all the way for an outfit and got the final evolutions. It just feels like it's something that's impossible. Like, how are you meant to get any of the colors unless you've like, I don't know. It just feels like I will never be able to get this look. Never. Never in a million years. But it is fantastic. It is fantastic, and I think you've done an amazing job. Oh my god, I'm actually crying. Okay, so this is from Chronically on Shine. She is the moment, titled My Precious Pink Star. That's one way to express how you feel about the law changes. If you're in here, I want to be your friend. Found in the Memorial Mountains. So this person, not the person who shared this, they've obviously just come across this as a snapshot, but yeah. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. I don't even understand where the sparkles are coming from. Like, what? Oh dear. Okay, that did make me chuckle. That did make me chuckle. And next we have this post from Educational Big. Wanna ride with me? This looks so good. This is impressive. Oh my gosh. So this is like the top you can get and you can dye. I love, this is one of the new necklaces. This just makes me wish I'd pulled on that motorbike banner. I thought that as soon as I knew about the dyeing and stuff, I was like, I'm gonna regret not having that motorbike banner, because it is kind of cool. I guess I hope at some point there'll be another cowboy one, perhaps in a colorway that I do prefer, but this is just fantastic. I love the colors on this. So well done, so well designed. I don't even know if the pants are dyed, they're probably not, but the way they've made it look good, I'm just so impressed. And then the poses with the horse, very, very cute. It's impressive. The quality of this photo as well, I'm just blown away. Absolutely fantastic. The skills that people have in this game for photography and things like that just always blows me away. It's always impressive. So yeah, absolutely fantastic. And I think for our last post, we're going to take a look at this one from Lou Woods. Sorry if I've said that wrong, I do apologize. They really dropped this absolute goddess of a woman and then condemned her to community service. Firstly, funny outfit, love what you've put together here. But secondly, I agree, some of the tasks in the Sea of Stars are just a bit lackluster for a better word. I think there's promise. I think if all these were like little side things, it wouldn't be so bad. Like, I don't mind changing into an animal, I don't mind sitting on a seesaw, but I think it's the fact that we're forced to do them that they lose their charm, kind of thing. I think that's the problem, is that we're forced to do these as dailies and they're not exciting enough to do as dailies. Like, there's a bit of fun and whimsy getting together with your friends and, you know, I'm a grown adult. I love a seesaw, I love a swing. Like, it sounds weird to say that I'd happily go to the park and just hang out on the swings and seesaws. Like, I love keeping that kind of inner child of me happy, kind of thing. So I don't have any problems as such with, you know, the concept of what we can do in the Sea of Stars, but they are small things. They need to be like, you know how you can ride the hot air balloons in the main world in Mirrorland? That's what all these tasks feel like. They're on that same level. I've enjoyed jumping on a hot air balloon once or twice, get a couple of fun photos and stuff like that, but you do it like once or twice and that's probably it. But it is kind of enjoyable for the rare occasion you do it and for snapping that photo that you want to get or whatever. But being forced to do that kind of level of activity as a daily just isn't enjoyable. And I think the difference with the Sea of Stars and what we do in the main world, because what we do in the main world for the diamonds isn't particularly exciting either. Like, going around collecting a few plants, going around and collecting a few like bees or, you know, whatever insects are buzzing around, like none of that's particularly like I'm excited to do revolutionary gameplay. But the difference with what we do in the main world is that we do that casually as we're playing through the game, as we're progressing through stories, as we're questing, as, you know, we're trying to expend our energies and things like that. Like, all of that comes pretty naturally. Yeah, sometimes when I'm doing my dailies, I have to kind of, I mean, I'm at the stage now where I just log in for dailies. Because of how disheartened I've been with Infinity Nikki, but even with that kind of thing, like, I do think that you know, you might have to divert and specifically put effort into grabbing those 5 plants, but usually those tasks that we have to do in Mirrorland are tasks that we do through generic gameplay, whereas in the Sea of Stars, nothing in the Sea of Stars would make me naturally gravitate towards the Caesar or gravitate towards turning into an animal kind of thing. None of my regular gameplay would accumulate to that, and that's what makes the difference. So yeah, I think that's the problem. I think people wouldn't hate on these activities so much if Sea of Stars was more fleshed out and if there was more to do in it. If Sea of Stars felt more like an expansion on Mirrorland, so to speak, like if it felt like a full and complete world, I think it would be better. And I think the problem is the lack of how multiplayer is fleshed out. It's just not fleshed out properly enough, and I think that's where the problem lies. All these things on their own would be fine. I don't think anyone would really complain about these too much, because I think they're on a similar level to what the hot air balloons are and stuff like that in Mirrorland. People wouldn't complain. It's because they're forced to do these as dailies, and it's not part of natural gameplay. It's not part of the natural gameplay progression. And I think that's where it comes from. That's where it gets a bit boring and monotonous and unenjoyable kind of thing. So I think that's where they dropped the ball, is they rushed to get out multiplayer and then it wasn't fully cohesive. Is that right? Yeah, it didn't blend in fully to the game. It was too rushed, it was incomplete, and that's why these activities, which usually wouldn't be a problem and would probably garner a bit of joy, a bit of, you know, smiles and happiness, are suddenly feeling like community service, really. I think that's how it's ended up, but you'll have to let me know how you think in the comments down below. In regards to everything we've covered, really. Anyway, I do hope you've enjoyed this Reddit review. It's been a while since we've done one. I am debating about how much Nikki content I put out. There are a couple of videos that I'd recorded previously. Like I'd recorded pool videos back when the banners first came down, and I don't know whether to post them or not. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you still are interested in seeing Nikki content. I don't know where I stand at the moment with Nikki, to be honest. Like I said, I think I'm living a lot in hope that things will get better, but I think, I don't know, how long can that hope go on? But yeah, let me know how you feel about everything we've talked about in the comments down below, and yeah, have a wonderful day. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye, guys.